It is 421, the day after 420, 2023. And this is the Wrestling Inc. podcast talking SmackDown because Rampage ain't on tonight. Myself, Mr. Alfred Konuwa, are here.
Royalty, Glenn. This is our first podcast post blue checkmark. We retired our verified badges, but we are OG checkmark podcasters. And this is our first podcast in the new era. How does it feel?
It feels like something's missing, but I have to say, because for a while I debated with Twitter Blue, I was like, well, I like being able to edit my tweet or hit undo and get the preview. But then I was like, no, people made that uncool really quickly. So
yeah,
you know, I'm a follower in many respects. So I was fine.
Yeah, God love anybody who has a check mark. There are some. I have on Forbes and Pro Wrestling Bits all of the AEW and WWE stars who decided to keep them. It's not very many, but I just feel like before it was like they gave it to you. You were bequeathed, you know? They would give you a blue check mark because they felt you were notable enough. And now paying for it, that just, the symbol of that, I think, just kind of rings cheaper. That, oh, this is the type of person who would pay for that type of clout, which no judgment, but it just seems a little weird. I did check with Twitter verification, and they did confirm that those who did get the original badges still get into heaven. So we're good.
Oh, there you go.
Into heaven, Glenn.
But Twitter Blue used to be like $3 a month also.
Yeah.
You know, now they raised the price. It's a whole thing. But and I'll be honest, you know, I got the check mark because of this podcast. Like, as a journalist, was probably one of the easier ways to get verified back when they had open verification.
Yeah.
And I just sent them links to the podcast, some stuff on the website, you know, and that's how I got in.
It was a hell of a run, you know. They gave me one for, you know, my coverage between Bleacher Report and Forbes and whatnot, and it was fun to have it. But by no means did I ask for it, and by no means am I going to pay for another one. And I just I had fun while it was there, and I do think that there's a certain gravity to it that you can't take that away from us. That we did have those original badges.
Well, and I'll talk about this now because it always seemed weird to sort of make a deal out of this. So when you were verified, or now even if you are pay for verification, you get the verified tab. And I will tell you that if you tweet at other verified people and you were verified as well, like that used to give you way more visibility, like just in terms of interaction and engaging with people online. Like that was sweet. And I liked that for a long time because I could just tweet at random people with questions and they would see it and oftentimes they would answer. But yeah, it's weird now. And so it's not cool anymore. I get it. I did have Twitter Blue paid for. I think I ended up on that block the blue list. They haven't updated. Yeah, there was a list where they were blocking everyone that was paying, and I paid for a month to see what it was. And I guess somehow that got me on the block list. But now they got blocked from the API, so they can't update it. I don't know. I mean, look, Twitter's still fun. I'm thinking about getting back into Hive. Thinking about Spoutable, you know. But the thing with Twitter, and it's kind of like wrestling, you know, a platform or a company's product isn't great when the majority of the time people spend talking about it is about the company, the leadership, the decisions. Right. You know, it's like WWE. If WWE and AEW were doing great booking, great storylines, we're not talking about Vince or Triple H or what's TK tweeting or what drama's going on behind the scenes. We're talking about the product. But when the product kind of sucks, people just want to talk about the soap opera and what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good point. And I really don't think it's fair that you have to pay to edit. I think the ability to edit a tweet should be something everybody should take advantage of. But if that's what I really do think they're going to try with this Twitter Blue. I think it's going to get to the point because not a lot of people are signing up for this. I believe only 300,000 people have signed up, which is not a lot at all.
Oh, no. Since then, I saw the stat today that since people signed up, like the net gain of Twitter Blue, it's like 4,000 people have signed up since they revoked the legacy check marks.
Okay, I mean, it's coming along, so it's not anything overwhelming. And I do think that Twitter, in order to make the money that Elon Musk spent to get it, they're going to start doing like you can only follow Donald Trump if you're verified or something like that. I don't know, using him as an example, but they're probably going to have more perks for people who are verified to try to get them to do that. But I can't see them. Unless they charge me for the block button, I can't see them doing anything that'll get me to pay for Twitter.
I think my hunch is that there will be further dumb moves and things coming. Like it ain't over. And the drama is going to continue being one of the most fascinating things on the internet. But yeah, it's interesting. So you have an article up about who paid and who didn't. That's any interesting revelations?
Well, 14 people in WWE are verified. A lot of them are the megastars, the John Cena's, the Logan Pauls, and then I believe only 7 people in AEW. Of course, Tony Twitterfingers is one of them who still has his check mark. MJF, being a heel that he is, still has his check mark. So it was a lot of the heels. And then Kofi Kingston and Swerve Strickland have their blue check marks as well. So very interesting, eclectic group of people who still have them. As of this writing, it could always grow. As Glenn said, the net gain is going up. So that's probably going to grow progressively.
But 4,000 is not like 400,000 people were stripped of their legacy and 1% said, I'm going to pay for this.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, though, so did you see the tweet from Alexa Bliss? This is a good segue into the news, where Alexa said, well, now that anybody can pay and impersonate her, Twitter should be liable for the people that scam wrestling fans out of money by pretending to be the official accounts.
I agree. If anything crazy happens with these blue checks, and on the other side, I don't want to be too much of an alarmist, but you look at whether it's a hate group, whether it's a Nazi group, whether it's these people can organize and get that blue check mark. And if they're not careful, that check mark can form into a symbol of hate. If too many hate groups start buying up these check marks, I know they look at the phone numbers or whatnot, and there might be a buffer period to where some certain people get these check marks, but remember when they first rolled these out and they had like Super Mario fake verified Twitter accounts, and it was
I have to admit, that was pretty fun.
Oh,
those couple days.
It was great. It was exactly what I was hoping for. And I just think that they are playing with fire by having people pay for what was supposed to be a tool to verify the real accounts from the fake accounts. You don't put money into that. There's other ways to draw revenue for Twitter, and this subscription just kind of seems skeevy.
Yeah, and I had to do that. I mean, we had to send our IDs. Like it was a process to go through verification before. So it's interesting. So what else is going on in the news?
Well, yes, the Alexa Bliss situation. We could touch on that real quick. There are reportedly no plans for Triple H in the administration currently to use Alexa Bliss. She has not appeared on TV since losing to Bianca Belair and has had to come out and say that she is not on hiatus. So there seems to be something going on with Alexa Bliss and WWE management. I don't know when the next time we'll see her. Of course, Bray Wyatt, who's been linked to Alexa Bliss, has not been on TV with health issues. So I don't know what's going on with Alexa Bliss, but she's not going to come back anytime soon, it doesn't seem.
What if they accidentally try and book her and book a fake Alexa Bliss account through Twitter?
They should do that. Do we even know if that evil Alexa Bliss is the real Alexa Bliss at this point?
Oh, who knows? She needs a bit of a reboot, I think. She's great. She's very talented. She connects with the fans. Look, the women's division has problems right now that you can count on, barely over one hand how many women they're actively interested in booking on the main roster right now. It ain't that many.
That is true. I mean, there was a story earlier this week that a lot of the talent is paranoid because a lot of women's segment have been cut recently. So it's leading a lot of people to speculate that Vince McMahon is coming back. And that, I think, is the worst part of Vince McMahon being back, at least in a limited capacity for now, is that every week, every time something weird happens out of the ordinary from the past year, people are going to just assume, oh, no, it's because Vince is back. Anything they don't like inside the locker room, people are going to be walking on eggshells thinking that that's a sign Vince is back. And I don't think that's good for morale.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I think at any given time, there are guaranteed 8 slots for women on the roster. 2 tag champions, Raw holder, Raw champion, SmackDown champion, and then you got 4 challengers, right? Now, if you've got Lita, Trish, Becky, Charlotte, Ronda, there are women that can exist outside of those core 8 slots, but it's really 4 that get the push, the other 4 in storylines, and maybe there's a Legends feud. So maybe 10. Maybe in the best week on WWE television, there's room for 10 women on WWE Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, it's not good. And probably more because we're going to have the draft next week, and I fully expect women to be called up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So it's like you look at how many women on the roster, and at any given time, they're using maybe 50% of their active.
Yeah.
And maybe main event. But does anyone watch main event? Where's main event even
Not
on?
really. I mean, main event is not a show they push as anything that somebody should watch on weekly television. It's just really a show to get reps for a lot of whether it's a talent who's coming up or talent that they need to get a look at. It's like the tryout show.
I believe, though, it airs internationally, correct? On linear television of some sort?
No, I think it's just it's streaming, and it airs everywhere streaming.
Oh, but like on Hulu or something, right?
Oh, yeah, I do think that it's part of Hulu. Yeah, not on television, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Because I think it used to be like a syndicated thing when they had. What was the other one? There was main event and Superstars.
Yeah, Superstars. Yes.
Yeah, and that only stopped like 5 years ago.
Yeah. They originally had it on TV. What is it? Not IGM, but it was a 3-letter. No, I can't remember what the network
UPN?
was, but it was
CW?
no, not UPN either.
I don't
It
know.
was
UPN. Where the fuck UPN from? UPN has existed in 20 years.
UPN's been gone for a while, but UPN had some bangers. They had Moesha, they had the Parker. Shouts to UPN.
Secret Diary, Desmond Pfeiffer, Homeboys in Outer Space.
1-on-1. Shasta McNasty.
Oh, Shasta McNasty. Did I tell you I submitted for that when that was?
No. Oh yeah, I remember us talking about
when they were
that,
doing casting for that. They were looking for white rappers, and so I submitted.
Ion, Mike Lee.
Ion TV.
was the channel. Yes, Ion.
Imagine how my future would have turned out differently had I been cast on Shasta McNasty with Jake Busey.
That'd have been wonderful.
That would have been.
Maybe they'll reboot it.
Yes.
R.I.P. Vern Troyer, of course.
Yeah, well, he was a guest in the first episode, and then midway through the season, they just added him to the cast.
Yeah, he was on every week.
So, like that show, I am sure the humor on that show is not aged well.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it's still, I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember being very amused by it.
There was a storyline in there, remember, at the time that was amusing, and I don't even want to repeat what it was because now it seems so offensive. I'll tell you off the air later. Look at the Shasta McNasty episode descriptions, everyone, and you'll understand like what we're talking about. At the time, I remember I thought it's like, oh, that's dark, but that's kind of funny. So anyhow, what else is going on in the news?
I'll plenty more in the news. Before we go any further, I'd like to congratulate my Milwaukee Bucks for absolutely dismantling the Miami Heat last night. They were up by about 30 at one point. They set the record for most three-pointers made in a postseason game. Shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe they should just rest Giannis for the first round and flex on the entire league, but they are in a class of their own. I still very much think they're winning the championship. And Saturday night, Miami's going to have their hands full. Go Bucks, fear the deer. Speaking of Bucks, Glenn, the Young Bucks and CM Punk continue to have their tensions. It's been reported that a meeting between CM Punk, Tony Khan, and Chris Jericho has not taken place. CM Punk has been told to keep his distance from the Young Bucks, so no communication has been made. And that's important to note because it's looking more and more like CM Punk will be back in AEW for June 17th on what is believed to be the debut of AEW Collision. That is their Saturday night show. It is reported that AEW would get $500,000 per hour of AEW programming. So assuming this is a 1-hour show, it would equate to $52 million per year for this new Saturday night show for AEW. So it's looking like CM Punk may come back. It's looking like they might divide the roster in order to keep CM Punk and the Young Bucks apart. But it does look like all but a done deal. They have not announced anything, so we can't just assume that this is going to happen. But it is looking more and more like CM Punk will be back for Saturday nights in AEW, Glenn.
They should really just call the Saturday night show Brawl Out.
Yeah. I love it.
Right?
They should lean into it.
Lean into it. Like what's the shame at this point?
I agree. If you're going to do this, because CM Punk is going to implode again. This is not, I hate people are thinking that he's not going to. He's going to implode again.
When he opens the show and comes out, he should hand out cupcakes to everybody and baked goods.
Brownies,
Yeah, you should go to that bakery, like make it a big moment,
What was it called? Mimi's Bakery. That's what it was.
Yeah, just come out, give everyone baked goods. Maybe the fans will throw them in the ring. That could be kind of a fun TV moment.
It'll be in Chicago. It'll be in the United Center in Chicago. So it's deja vu. They created a whole B show around CM Punk for Rampage that did well for about a month before it tailed off. And now they're creating a third show, which could be no less than 11 hours of programming for WWE and AEW alone. Saturday night's going to be a tough spot. I think it's a mistake, personally. I think Tony Khan this is a misstep in leadership. I don't think it's even leadership. I just don't like the idea that they're really not addressing this problem head on, but instead we're going to try to keep them apart from one another in different locker rooms and then add a Saturday show. None of this sounds like it's going to lead to a happy ending.
Yeah, I still like the idea of doing the Ring of Honor roster Thursday and Saturday and main AEW Wednesday and Friday. I still think that's the best way to do a brand split.
Yeah, and Ring of Honor, they're going to be fighting for scraps with all these shows, and it looks like, at least initially, just like Rampage, they're going to put a lot into the Saturday show, but this is Groundhog's Day. It's CM Punk debuted in AEW inside the United Center for Rampage before he imploded and left, and Rampage kind of became abandoned and not much of a show, and now they're doing that with Saturday, and I just want to know. I wonder why they felt the need to have a Saturday show. Why couldn't they do this roster split with a Rampage? Why do they feel like they needed more?
I mean, money. Because WB was like, you know what? This does look. I think that whatever they're paying, I mean, they don't pay $500,000 to air Justice League or The Accountant for the 8th time. Well, the 800th time. It doesn't cost them that, but they've done a cost benefit analysis of the rating it brings in, the ad revenue it brings in, what it does for the network, and clearly it's profitable, or else they wouldn't be doing it.
Yes, WBD loves AEW, and they're obviously investing in AEW. And they've got the All Access show, which actually isn't doing well at all, and they've got this Rampage show and now the Saturday night show. So it's good that they're getting this $52 million. It was reported that CM Punk is an important part of this. Like, it's not like he had to be part of this, but there's a big push for him to be part of this. And I just don't know why they're doing it. You
know what? I bet you when HBO rebrands as Max at the end of May, I wonder if AEW is going to be a big part of their streaming push. And this is pure speculation. I just pulled this out of thin air. But if you look at where else they're going to get additional value, having the AEW library, maybe they'll have old pay-per-views even. But even if they just have a TV archive, that could be huge.
Yeah, and I will say they're renaming it Max parts and parts because HBO Max subscribers kind of tailed off because there is a belief in it's kind of a good problem to have. HBO is seen as very highbrow, but a lot of the common people, the middle of the country, the blue-collar type workers aren't interested in HBO and the brand of HBO because they find it to be highbrow and holier than thou. You add pro wrestling to that brand to be the common man's network, I think that would be perfect. So I would have no problem with AEW streaming on Max.
HBO, the network they gave you Dream On and Arliss, is a little highfalutin for medical.
Too highfalutin. They also had Hung, which is a show about a man whore, which got canceled way too soon after one season. I love that show.
I think I watched that. I think I made it 2 seasons. I think I've seen every episode of Hung. I mean, Entourage was the network that had Entourage was too highbrow.
Way too high. They tell a lot of great stories on HBO, and they're known for like The Sopranos, which was like a kind of a movie and a TV show at the same time. But
speaking of Arliss, flashback to when Matt Morgan on this podcast, we were talking about Robert Stone on NXT, and Matt Morgan said he's supposed to be a character like Arliss Michaels, and I'm like, Matt Morgan, how the fuck do you know Arliss's last name? Everyone knows the show Arliss. How do you know that his full name was Arliss Michaels? That was the weirdest, deepest pull Matt Morgan ever had on this podcast.
Arliss Michaels.
Arliss Michaels.
But we were talking about AEW All Access earlier in terms of an extra show, and there were reports that CM Punk may feud with Chris Jericho as his first feud, which it's going to be more of this art imitating life type thing. I don't think that's a good idea because these problems certainly haven't been solved. They're in the middle of a social media feud where they're going back and forth with each other, kind of subtweeting each other. And so I don't think Chris Jericho and CM Punk coming together is going to be a good idea. And I don't know where AEW is getting this idea that they think these backstage drama storylines are doing a good job. They have a whole show on backstage drama in AEW Access. It did 281,000 viewers in its latest show.
I mean, it's better than
Power Slap numbers.
Yeah, I was going to say better than Power Slap though, right?
It's about the same with what Power Slap was doing. The thinking was that we put an AEW show after the AEW lead-in, and we're at least going to maintain what? Conservatively 50% of the audience because it's the same audience. That same audience is saying, no, we don't care about it. And it's lower. They're at 830,000 for Dynamite. It's getting down to the hardcores who are watching this, and they don't want any part of this backstage drama. So AEW needs to make something up, have CM Punk feud with somebody over like Anthony Ogogo over his girlfriend or something that has nothing to do with reality. That's what I think they should do. Instead of putting him in a locker room and splitting up the locker room surreptitiously, you put CM Punk in a locker room with only shooters. That Saturday show should be CM Punk and a bunch of shooters. So when he wilds the hell out, he gets tapped the hell out.
Put CM Punk on Power Slap.
Yeah, there you go. Now we're talking. Bring that back. They're doing the same numbers anyway. You have CM Punk slapping.
I saw this on Twitter. There's a slapping league is in Russia or Romania, but in addition to face slapping, they also do like spanking.
Oh yeah, booty slapping. I've been watching, for investigative purposes. I've been watching that.
No, do that co-ed. Do that, male and female. I mean, not mixed gender, but I think have a men's division and a women's division. Why isn't that in the U.S.? That would do huge numbers.
You'd want to see men slapping each other in the bum.
That would actually be kind of interesting.
It would be intriguing television. I think it would do well with women.
No, I'm just thinking about that because I would be interested to see somebody try and no sell it. Like that could be really interesting.
Yeah. Do you use paddles at all?
No, man. Where's your mind going? This is a competitive sport.
No,
You
of course,
powder
but
your hands.
maybe you get a paddle that's like not like a wooden paddle that would really hurt somebody, but just like a fan.
What is this, Dazed and Confused? Like they're just gonna sit there and just paddle one another, like a fraternity hazing. Anyhow, before this goes too off the rails, what else is going on?
We do have one more story, and just to put a bow on the CM Punk thing, because I'm all fired up about this. The idea that putting him in another locker room and keeping him away from the Young Bucks is a good idea, and there's nothing that's going to implode is ridiculous, because this guy has had problems with everybody throughout his career. So just because he's not around the Young Bucks doesn't mean he's not going to find some other op to have a problem with. This is a terrible idea, and AEW will rue the day they bring CM Punk, Phil Brooks back. But hey, listen, they picked up a $52 million bag. I can't be too mad at them. Get it how you live.
Yes. And let's have CM Punk versus Samoa Joe again. We haven't seen that in a while.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Hey, they're still friends for now, but we'll see how long that lasts. And we'll see how long Cameron Grimes and company last in NXT, because there are now rumors in terms of call-ups, according to Mike Johnson, a PW insider. Cameron Grimes, Ilja Dragunov are among those who've been pitched from NXT to go to WWE. I spoke with Booker T this past week in an interview that will roll out next week, and Booker T himself said that he feels Grayson Waller is ready for the main roster.
Oh, yeah.
What do you feel? Who's on your wish list?
I mean, Grayson Waller and Cameron Grimes, I think on the men's side are overdue for a call-up, and on the women's side, I could see Zoe Stark, but the thing is, again, like, I don't know that there's... So, I mean, I think sure they'll have a great debut, but unless they get in a hot program, if I was a woman in WWE, I'd rather be in NXT than on SmackDown or Raw.
Definitely.
In terms of visibility opportunities. Yeah, maybe not for the paycheck. Although, how much disparity do you think there is now between, it's been a while. Alfred, I'm surprised you haven't dug into that. It's been a while since we've had a good salary leak.
They're very radio silent, especially in the Nick Khan era. I mean, it's harder than ever to get access to these salaries. I will say that top end salary is a huge difference. Being a top star in NXT versus being a top star in WWE is almost probably millions of dollars, to be honest.
Yeah, but being a top star in NXT or a seasoned veteran in NXT versus not being used on the main roster probably isn't that much different.
Yeah, just being like run of the mill where you're just there. I mean, you're definitely making more money on the main roster, especially if you're on more shows. But if you're just sitting around and catering, I don't think.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Do you think Ilja, who was in NXT for 10 years, do you think Ilja's marginal pay bump difference?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, somebody like Ilja, even Shotzi, I would say they're probably making similar to what they were in NXT.
I think it's on TV though, at least twice a month in some capacity. She's kind of low key. Her and Natalia, I think low-key have kind of mastered. It was just funny that they got paired up because they were both very good at getting booked consistently.
Yeah.
Shotzi's probably broken. Now that I think about this, Shotzi, more than of women who have not won a title from NXT, I think Shotzi has been one of the more successful call-ups in terms of TV time.
Yeah, she's consistently getting on TV. Now, it's kind of been a flat line. There hasn't been much progression. It seems like every time they go to do something with her, she gets kicked down a peg, but she's definitely treading water and she's still out there. They have the whole package there. She's like a finished product. All they need to do is push her. She's got the tank. She's got the character. She knows who her character is. She's got it all figured out. They just need to push her.
So Dylan's pointing out that Meltzer made a claim in February that NXT stars are making 50 to 60K. I think that's at the low end. And that used to be like 30K. Originally it was 30K if you were male. And I think like 36 or 40 if you were female, because the idea were that you had more style costs.
Yeah. And that sounds very low, but I could see that, especially with the NIL. The NILs are different types of contracts. So I don't know how that factors in. And I would think that it's a minimum with NIL athletes too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. One other news story that I just saw, we're talking about the LWO tonight. According to WrestleNomics, second week in a row, LWO leading merchandise seller on WWE Shop.
Push these guys. Like, I don't understand. I was in the building when they revealed these shirts, and it was a huge pop. And they did it in LA, and people have nostalgic feelings for the LWO, even though the LWO, from what I recall, was not really pushed in WCW. It was the same thing. They were put together, a bunch of popular athletes, and they didn't really do much with them. But that nostalgia is very powerful. So if you push these guys, imagine how much more t-shirts you can sell.
Do you remember, I guess it was 2016 when they did, because I think anything that taps into national origin in merch does really, really well. Do you remember when they had the limited edition shirts? They had like Paige and the colors were the UK flag. They had Becky and Finn where it was the
Yeah.
Irish colors. I remember those sold out. I wanted to get my wife the Irish Becky shirt for her birthday. I had to order from WWE shop, open a PO box at a mail service in like Germany, get it sent there and get shipped to the US because those sold out so fast in the US.
Wow.
Before. So it makes absolute sense to me. Those LWO shirts with the Puerto Rican flag like are amazing looking.
Those are great. They're going to Puerto Rico soon. I mean, they've got Zelina Vega, I'm sure we'll get into in the SmackDown review. She's going to be competing for the title. I don't expect her to win it, but you could sell a lot of t-shirts telling that story.
Oh, it's going to be huge. So in fact, we open tonight with LWO.
Oh, final story really quick. It's looking like Warner Brothers Discovery might throw their names in the hat to purchase on WWE's television rights. This is a storyline worth monitoring that Warner Brothers Discovery may be in the discussion for rights to Raw, which may not necessarily end up on Monday nights, but WBD, which airs AEW, could be in this discussion.
Hey,
Andrew Miller.
Do you know, have you heard any behind the scenes gossip of why they stopped using ACDC on SmackDown? I assume it's to save money.
That's what I was assuming. I haven't heard anything specifically why that, but I would definitely assume that they can't do that every single week. It is very expensive. Music rights are very expensive.
But they did it for like 2 years.
Yeah. Maybe they just got tired of it. Maybe they just felt like they needed to do a new show. I mean, when they do the reruns on that show, they can't air ACDC like when it's like on Hulu or whatnot.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, always fascinated by what goes on behind the scenes there. You know what I missed was the Tonight's the Night theme on Raw. I think of the recent themes, that was my favorite.
Which one was that? You might have to sing it.
It's Tonight's the Night. It was like kind of this rap rock thing.
Yeah, that was all right. I liked Forget the girl, the daddy. I don't know what the song's called, but that's my shit.
Yeah. No, these were some good ones.
Come on.
Yeah. It's weird because after a while, just like so much with wrestling and music just gets stuck in your head. And now theme songs are weird because a lot of theme songs don't even have lyrics now. So it's just all like weird melodies that get stuck in your head.
Well, the original Raw theme song didn't have lyrics, and I love that. Yeah. That was awesome.
But then do you ever have wrestling themes and then you're like thinking about it and then you get like the BK Have It Your Way song stuck in your head because you associate that with wrestling so much?
Yeah, see, now I'm going to have it stuck in my head for the rest of this night.
Yeah, no, it happens. So LWO versus Judgment Day opened up tonight. Judgment Day getting the win. What did you think of this match?
I mean, it was another good match. These two teams work very well together. It's just what I didn't like about this show is that the cliffhanger they left us with on Monday was that the Bloodline held up their end of the bargain, but the Judgment Day did not. And I like the idea that it's very much like comic books where you're taking this new faction because the Bloodline storyline is going to continue, and now they're crossing paths with the Judgment Day. They did nothing with this. Like there was no Judgment Day Bloodline tension. I really like what they did on Monday, and they did not follow up on this. They just out comes the Bloodline of the Judgment Day, and they win their match to open the show. And there was very little to no mention of their ongoing developments with the Bloodline.
Yeah, and I think people really want to see some action there. In fact, that would be an interesting match for when they go to Saudi Arabia next to do the Usos versus Judgment Day. Actually, Ray versus Roman might be a good one-off.
You know, I want to see Dom versus Roman. I really do think that they could build it up. He's not going to win, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Calvin, $5 super chat. Imagine how much Yayo TK did when your WWE or WBD was looking at putting WWE on their air. How much Yayo.
That Yayo drawing a line in the snow, of course, Mr. Khan.
That's what Yayo stood. See, I'm a little behind on the slang. Wait, is that what Tony Yayo? Is that what it stood for?
Tony, yeah, it was about drug because he was a drug dealer. Tony Yayo, in the hood, dealt drugs.
I knew somebody I didn't think about it. I knew somebody that had the hip hop alias once of John Coke.
Very straightforward.
Yes. Tornado Anthony Y, $1.99 saying Alfred Raw returns to Wichita on June 12th. Tornado.
WWE likes going to Wichita in June. That must be their month to go to Kansas because I believe it was like June 6th last year. But I very much look forward to seeing Anthony on that show.
Yes. So Yeah, this was good, but yeah, man, give me Dominic versus Ray versus Roman in a triple threat
Yeah, why
in
not?
Saudi
They got to
Arabia.
do something in Saudi. I mean, Roman Reigns, all indications he's going to finally get off the beach to go defend his title that he sits around baby guarding for the majority of that run. So, yeah, maybe he will face a Dominic. Maybe he'll face a Damian Priest. I'd have no problem with that. It'll be interesting what they do with this Bad Bunny match because presumably, I know it's Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, so he's probably going to win, but it's like, I really would like to see Damian Priest and Judgment Day level up coming out of this show. And Damian Priest is from Puerto Rico too, so there's going to be support for him. I wouldn't mind beating Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico.
I mean, and they're not going to break up the Judgment Day or do anything dumb like that.
No, I mean the draft is coming up. They have to, but I don't see it happening.
Got to get Judgment Day versus Bloodline first.
Yes, I'd like to see it. That's why I wanted to see more development on Smack, but they kind of went away from it.
This was an okay match. I don't think this escalated things at all, but yeah, due to some confusion, Judgment Day got the win. This was a fine opening to the show.
It was okay, yeah. I don't like that they're beating LWO like this.
Yes, and Priest grabbed the mic and called out Bad Bunny ahead of his return on Raw. So we'll see what happens.
Call him by his government name, Benito.
Yes. So Zelina approached Adam backstage, and since she wanted a shot at the title, we knew that was coming, and they've made it official. It's going to be Zelina Vega taking on Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Championship in Puerto Rico at Backlash.
Anywhere else, it's like, who cares? Rhea's going to run through her. It's going to be a steamroll. But in Puerto Rico, it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think as long as they keep telling the story that she's from Puerto Rico and is the only female Puerto Rican star on the roster, I think this crowd's going to be so hot for her. And I'm 95% sure Rhea Ripley is going to win. But in any other circumstances, I'd be 100% sure. So it's going to be good. I think this match, I'm very much looking forward to it just for the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think this pay-per-view is going to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be the most fun pay-per-view WWE does on the main roster all year.
It's going to be great. Issa brought them to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, she manifested it. So we got a video hyping up Shinsuke's return. Another one from Karrion Kross and Scarlett, putting him on notice.
I like these both. I really loved Shinsuke's vignette, making him look like a badass. And they did say something weird where they say jujitsu train him to strike, which jujitsu is all about holds and rolling. It's not Muay Thai and kickboxing is maybe where he learned his striking for. Not to be a combat sports nerd, but it did strike me as odd that the narrator was saying how jujitsu taught him to be a disciplined striker.
When do you think WWE starts using ChatGPT to write the promos?
They probably used it for this. And it's funny because they're merged with UFC now. You should think they could go to a UFC person and ask them to write something like this up, but they probably did use ChatGPT, and ChatGPT screwed this up.
There you go. Well, we had the Viking Raiders with Valhalla versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet tonight. And oh man, that botch with Braun throwing Ricochet. Ooh. But credit to Braun for quickly reacting after Ricochet fell 2 feet short of one of the Viking Raiders, and Braun just slapped him in the face. Just slapped one of the Viking Raiders in the face. That was great.
Good improv, yes.
Yeah. This match was fine, but Braun and Ricochet got a win.
Yeah.
Reversing it. So, it's not so much 50-50 booking. It's just sometimes one team wins and the other one loses.
Yeah, I felt like turnabout is fair play was a theme throughout this show, like revenge, because we saw that here after they got beat down last week. We saw Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez get their comeuppance against Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. And then, the main event, Solo got buried under the table. So there's a lot of that on this show, and this was one of them. This is fine. I mean, both these teams are kind of treading water. They're not doing much with them.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But yeah, aside from actually that spot was my favorite spot of the match. Just say what you want about Braun. Dude thought fast on his feet and pulled that off pretty well. But yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
Overall, okay match though. And then Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defended their SmackDown, or not their SmackDown, their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. What did you think of this?
Not the best match. I really love Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green as a team. It's weird the timing because Raquel and Liv just won those tag titles, so they don't keep the titles on any of these women tag teams because they don't try with any of them. But I think they're onto something with Chelsea and Sonya Deville. They have the chemistry. I like the characters that they're playing, and it's meshing well together with this Team Karen thing. And I think within a month or so, they should give them the run and really double down and try to make them into a viable championship women's tag team, which they have not had since the pandemic.
I think they need to amp it up more. I feel like their gimmick is still muted. It needs to be more over the top.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they do a lot of stuff backstage, but I would very much like to see them. They did cut a promo on the way to the ring, which didn't get too much heat, but the more they cut promos in front of these crowds, the more heat they're going to get.
Yeah, I agree. But no, I thought this match, man, Liv, I like the way they've evolved her character in the last month. And now she is just nuts. She's just a ball of crazy. She's like a ghost energy drink come to life.
Yeah. She wants to smoke with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I tried Ghost for the first time 2 weeks ago. And now that's all I'm drinking energy drink wise.
What makes Ghost different from the other energy drinks?
Okay. So one, they have this mix of like carnitine and some alpha brain supplement with the caffeine. I feel, this is my personal experience, I feel like when I drink a Ghost, like not only am I wired with energy, but I can see through time and space. Like it's a buzz. But no, here's why Ghost is great. They do flavor collabs. So they've got like blue Sour Patch Kid flavor energy drink.
Okay.
They've got like watermelon warheads, like sour apple warheads flavors. I got the protein powder. They've got like a Cinnabon vegan protein powder. It's really good. I like the flavor collabs because most of the time, you get these energy drinks and it doesn't matter what they say the flavor is like or what's that going to taste like. But we all know what Sour Patch Kids taste like.
Right.
They're
very good.
They're very good. So yes, when I saw Liv's gear and her energy, I was like, yes, she's like a Ghost energy drink come to life.
Yeah, and Raquel Rodriguez. It's almost like this is what they do with big and little tag teams. It's like Scooby Doo and Shaggy. Liv is the one. Let me at him. And then Scooby Doo is like, no, hold on, Shaggy. Scrappy Doo.
Jesus,
not Shaggy.
Does anyone want to be the Scrappy Doo of WWE?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think that's. They still need a team name. They still need to come up with something. We'll see. Oh, you're muted, Alfred. Alfred is fixing his muting. Dream Realm Studios saying, yes, he does that with Ghosts sometimes too. It is good stuff. I am also taking further energy drink recommendations. Tweet them at me. I'm trying to find more. And now I'm taking some other supplement to make sure that I don't have a stroke due to the energy drinks I'm drinking.
Yes, the Matrix got to me for the first time tonight. Let's make sure that's the last. And I'm noticing a lot of teams need to be named because it is kind of a pain in the ass writing about them. You have to say Braun Strowman and Ricochet, Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Like Booker T had a great take when he was talking about how there's not a lot of cohesive tag teams on the main roster, especially with the women. And in NXT, you've got the Gallus Boys, you got Pretty Deadly, you have all these united fronts, and they need to do that more on the main roster.
Yeah. They were saying on the bump that Liv wants something. They want something that reflects Liv's energy and Raquel's Hispanic heritage. And I was just like, oh, Vince is going to come up with like La Vida Loca or something.
That does sound outdated, but I can see it happening.
That is 1 in 5 odds that La Vida Loca. Maybe they'll spell it Liv. Livita Loca.
Oh, hey, I like that. Hey, that's not bad. They could do worse.
Yeah, because normally, if it passes the trademark search, the obvious thing is usually what flies.
Yeah.
But no, I thought this match was fun. I think Liv and Raquel getting the win is good. Glad they. But I like the Morgan pouring the water on Chelsea Green. Like. Just sort of out of nowhere. It was just fun. Like this was a serious match, and then it had kind of that fun ending.
Yeah, and this was a revenge from her getting water poured on her, which is basically the storyline. It was like a 4-day build where they kept showing you that she had water poured on her, and so turnabout was fair play.
I mean, of all the things you could pour on me as liquids, I think water is the least offensive.
I think WWE, the reason they're not naming these tag teams is they're now starting to get gun shy because they did the Banger Bros, and that ended up being a porn thing. They did the Submission Sorority Sisters or whatnot. That ended up being so maybe they're just afraid and gun shy. They should call them like the Cougar Hunters or something like that. I'm sure that's not going to get.
I'm not even gonna say. I got some jokes for this, but we're not gonna go there. But they're all outdated. They're all like 25-year-old adult websites. Kelvin Alexander, $2, saying AEW hackers have targeted Alfred's audio.
Yes, the Matrix will not stop me. Okay, so anytime they try to sneak on into this podcast,
yes,
I will be combating them.
So Gunther defended his Intercontinental Championship against Xavier Woods.
Good match. I wasn't excited
match.
about it. It's like Xavier is not going to have a chance based on how Gunther's been booked, but they had serious Xavier out there, and he was working very snug with. He was working a Gunther match, and he did a very good job. I love this match.
And they had him get sleeper hold, have him pass out, so he still looked strong in defeat.
Like a G. He hit some of his shots and the strikes were just as hard as Gunther's. I like this match.
Yeah, if they run this back, I would definitely enjoy it. I thought this was good. This is probably the best match tonight on the show.
Yeah, I agree. Easily.
Man, who's going to take it off Gunther?
I think it's going to be Sheamus who dethrones Gunther eventually as a baby face, because they're still trying to tell that story about how he's never won the IC title. And I think that in order to end this historic reign, you need like a really big moment. And that would be the moment that not only has the reign ended, but Sheamus has finally done it. I think it's there for the taking. And obviously they've proven to have great chemistry in 2 matches now. One being the triple threat, which is the best match of WrestleMania weekend. And then one being their match of the year candidate from last year. So run it back a 3rd time.
Yeah, why not? So announced for Backlash, we're going to have Seth freaking Rollins versus Omos.
Very, very random. We'll see how that works. I don't get it. Omos is just they don't ever have a reason for Omos to get in there and be infused. He can't tell any backstage. He either randomly challenges Brock Lesnar. Now he's randomly challenging Seth Rollins. So we'll see if he can do the stomp on the big giant.
That'll be entertaining. And then we had the main event. Man, Gunther and Xavier should have gone last. But
yeah, it was a good match.
I understand why Solo versus Matt Riddle in a no DQ match went last. This was pretty good, but do you think they're already burning out the demand for the Usos solo 6-man tag against KO and Riddle? Do you think they're already burning us out on these configurations before we get to Backlash?
I don't know if they're burning us out, but there does seem to be some backpedaling with their storytelling, because they were for the longest time telling the story of bloodline dissension, and they still kind of are. On the Raw after Mania, which is the last time we saw Roman Reigns, they're still telling the story that he's upset with the Usos, but all the bloodline has been doing is winning. There doesn't seem to be any dissension. Solo Sikoa won again. He's being protected. I'm sure they're eventually going to get back to telling that story, but it does seem like it's in a holding pattern, and I'm not moved and intrigued, even though it's not fair to compare this to WrestleMania season. I'm not at all as intrigued as I was in the bloodline as I was during WrestleMania season. And even before that with during Elimination Chamber with Sami Zayn, they were telling some great stories, and it seems to be overstaying its welcome for the time being. And I would be nervous for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for next week. What's good is they built it up to where I could see the Usos absolutely winning next week, but hopefully Sami and Kevin win, but they've been losing a lot since WrestleMania.
I like the Usos promo before this and the way they introduced Solo. I thought the dude voice, it's like, they grew up on Bill and Ted. It was very accurate. The California dude accent. You sad? Are you mad? That was good.
They grew up out there in San Francisco. They're California boys, so they know how to channel that.
That's true, right? I always forget that.
Yeah.
Bay Area. Good promo, and this match I thought was really good, but then the Usos interfering, Riddle or the table spot that got done I thought was really good. Yeah, this was fun, but I just didn't feel new or fresh.
Not at all. Not only like, even though Riddle just came back, it's like they're already putting him in there with Solo. He's beat him twice. Solo's beaten Riddle twice. Yeah. And they're doing the same thing with the outside interference from the Usos that costs him the match. And it was funny. The finish was very bungled because Solo Sikoa hit what looked like a clothesline, but he also hit him with the spike. And Michael Cole goes, "Oh, he hit him with a clothesline." And then it was a 3 count. So Cole had to be like, or was it the spike? No. Yeah, it was a spike. My bad.
It was fun. But yeah, I feel like Vince is back ruining things with all the amount of rematches, repetitive booking, and segments. Like this tonight flew by, but this was like the least consequential episode of SmackDown.
Yeah.
In quite some time.
Didn't at all advance even the Bloodline story, which usually the highlight of the show is they'll do some storyline with the Bloodline to kind of give you a little carrot as to where they're going. And this just held straight. It was Solo Sikoa looking dominant and staying strong, and the Bloodline on top, and nothing happened. There's no storyline advancement. You did not need to watch the show.
So there you have it, folks. That's the quote. Put it on the poster. You
Do
did not
watch
need
this show.
you did not need to watch this show. Alfred Konuwa, Forbes magazine.
Next week, though, is a show that you need to watch. I'm very much looking forward to next week.
Yeah, Usos versus KO and Sammy.
Yeah, and the draft. They're doing the draft.
That's right. Draft starts next week. Cool. Well, we'll be back here Monday night, the Monday Night Cruise here to cover Raw. We're back Tuesday to cover NXT. Spring Breakin' Tuesday night.
Yeah, that'll be a good show.
That'd be great. Yeah, everybody, follow Alfred at This Is Nasty. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. Issa, we hope you get better soon.
Yes.
We'll get you back here next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast.